Okay, can everybody hear me now? I think it should be back on. And of course, we got an ad coming up here, so I'm just going to wait for that ad to to get over. Okay, we got a few seconds left of that. Okay, so anyone in chat, if you could just let me know if you can hear me, that would be great. Camera's working, and perfect. So let me resend her invite. We'll see if we can. Oops. Okay. Her questions. Okay, so we've resent her an invite. So let's see. Give her a minute to respond so you can see and hear me. Perfect. There we go. Sigoli, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
perfect. Okay. So technology, great.
Yeah,
We always have to deal with that, right?
absolutely.
So I've kind of just introduced myself to the chat before we started, but because we've had that little interruption, I'll just kind of go over this again, just for I guess partly for your benefit as well. So I always say, siguli swagwag gelahindi neo gats wagi sli wagi ni wakitaloda onida ngwe wenege ani bojo danse okinapi how yonko yuguadolas. So hello, everyone. Galahini is my name. It translates clouds passing over in the colonial language. I'm a member of the people of the Standing Stone First Nations here on the traditional lands of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, Delaware, and Huron nations in an area that we call the Dish with One Spoon Covenant Treaty Territory. And in the colonial context, it means that I'm in a northern part of Turtle Island that's been segregated and relabeled Canada, and I'm in a small section called Southwestern Ontario. And I say Yonko Yukodono, or thank you, friends, Miigwech, for being here. And as I said, we've got a very special guest on today, which I'm very excited to finally be able to actually speak with. And thank you, Kaeley, for being able to be here and take some time out to join us and let us get to know who you are.
Yeah, thank you
And
so much for having me. Um,
I think f because I'm sure you don't know, obviously, what I do, but I really try to. My channel is really about focusing on Indigenous peoples in Turtle Island. So we really want to promote music because we don't have, I don't believe, the backing, the corporate backing that many mainstream artists have. And I find that the ones who do, I mean, for example, Buffy St. Marie, Robbie Robertson, um, the hallucination. People have a really wide reach, and but they're the exceptions
mm,
to the rule, so to speak, if you will. So before we get started, I guess rather than me going over your Google resume with the channel, um, I'm gonna ask that you introduce yourself in the way that you feel is appropriate.
Absolutely. Hello. Yeah, it's very nice to be here. So I'm Kaeley Jade. Yeah, she, her pronouns. And yeah, I come from Treaty 6 territory. I'm currently based in Amiskwaciwâskahigan or Edmonton. My family, I have settler family and Indigenous family, and my Indigenous family is from Frog Lake, which is sort of kind of the colonial Alberta Saskatchewan border. It's sort of around there. And on my settler side, on my dad's side, yeah, my family's kind of from all over Europe that way as well. So I think a lot of my family history, everyone's kind of traveled around and moved around a lot. So um, yeah, I'm feel settled right now, right now, but who knows? So I'm a multidisciplinary artist. So I'm a singer-songwriter, also an actor, and I dabble in the visual arts as well. So I guess yeah, it's a little bit about myself.
So some of our community are not from Turtle Island. So for those who are not from Turtle Island, can you kind of explain to them what Métis actually is, or what it means to you?
Yes. Yeah, so I guess the word Métis means mixed, and for me, like, yeah, I guess that's a really good way to put it. I because I have so many cultural backgrounds in my own family history, I think like mixed is a very good identifier for how I feel. Because I don't feel any one thing. I think it's like being a mixed person is a very interesting identity to have, especially yeah, just I think in terms of finding your identity, it can often feel like you're sort of between places or between cultures. So yeah, kind of existing in the between state.
The foot in two worlds.
Totally, yeah,
Can I-
absolutely.
And I think that I get that too because although you can look at me and obviously people don't have to ask, are you indigenous? But at the same time, I grew up in the urban setting.
Mm,
So we tend to not have access to a lot of our traditional teaching. So being, but I also don't belong in the mainstream society per se. So we have always kind of grown up, urban indigenous people growing up with a conflict of identity because we don't belong in either world. To a certain point, right? That's changing. I think, with the young people really kind of reclaiming our language, reclaiming identities in our teachings and traditions. So that's really cool that that's coming back. So, of all the professions that you could have chosen, you chose to be an entertainer. Um,
hmm
so what led you to decide that versus, say, a doctor or a lawyer?
Yeah, so I guess I've been performing for a very long time. Like I did like, like stuff when I was a kid. I started in musical theater when I was like 8 years old. So I played Gretel in Sound of Music in my community theater here in Sherwood Park when I moved out that way from Fort McMurray where I was born. So yeah, it was sort of like something that I'd always wanted to pursue. And those things that you fill out in school sometimes where they're like, oh, like what's your favorite color and what do you want to be when you grow up? Like when I was like 6 years old, I was like a singer. And why? Because it looks like fun. So it's always been something that I wanted to pursue. And as I got older too, I got more serious about performing and it kind of became this viable option for me. So in high school, I was sort of deciding where I wanted to go next in post-secondary, and I decided to go to acting school. And so I did a theater program in Edmonton, a BFA in acting. I was very fortunate to do that, and sort of have been doing both since that happened.
So, looking over your career, I mean, it seems like where you got your start was really on stage and film.
Mhm.
And so, what transpired to have you transition uh, to music? I mean, it sounds to me like you've always kind of wanted to be there anyway.
Yeah. Yeah, I think yeah, like back in high school when I was kind of making that decision, I was really thinking about um just my knowledge and like my skill set and what I wanted to really focus on developing. And for that point in my life, it was definitely my acting side was something that I wanted to invest a little bit more in. But I have been singing for like quite some time as well. Like I started singing kind of around the city when I was 9. After that first play that I did, I was like, "Oh, singing's very, very fun." So I started taking lessons, and yeah, it was kind of like a vocal performance school that I was a part of. So I was very fortunate to get to play a lot of like shows. Like I don't know, I did like there was like the CCMAs. I got to do like a showcase with them when I was like 10 or 11 or something, and like Big Valley Jamboree and like all of these kind of yeah, different events around the city. So it's sort of had both for a really long time, and it's been cool to see kind of how these disciplines can intersect and how being creative doesn't necessarily have to be limited by a discipline, and you can be creative in many ways in different areas of your life.
So, your city, you're referring to Edmonton?
Yes, yeah. So I was
So,
born in Fort McMurray and then moved to just outside of Edmonton when I was about 7.
so is there a lot of venues that really are nurturing the entertainment industry there?
I would say so. I think there's a lot of spaces, like a lot of like open mics and jams that artists can access. I think it's still kind of there, I mean, since the pandemic, of course, there's been a huge sort of shift, and I don't know, everything's getting mixed around a little bit. We've lost a few really good, solid Edmonton venues through the
Right,
pandemic, which is unfortunate, but there's kind of been others that have sort of risen out of out of the ashes per se, per se that have
right.
taken their and a lot of people who really believe in the art scene here. So I'm always a huge supporter of Edmonton as a place to create. I think there's a lot of room for that, no matter what discipline you're in.
It's funny. The last person I had on stream that I did an interview with was also from Edmonton, and that's Plex,
Oh, okay,
or
cool,
Doug Bedard. Um,
cool.
so Edmonton does seem to have its talent that's coming out. Now, you brought up the pandemic, which is kind of feeds into the next question, was that because your EP, the 4-track EP was released in 2020, which were like right at the beginning of the pandemic as it started. So how did that affect the way that you released and promoted it?
Yeah, that was wild. That obviously no one could expect that happening. And I put out my first single in January, so I'd sort of had everything laid out for the May release. And then obviously between January and May, we had the lockdown happening. So I kind of decided to just like go ahead with it anyways. I was like, well, I'm not doing anything else. I graduated university in April, so it was like, okay, well, next phase of my life, no one really knows what's gonna happen or what could happen. So I was like, I'm gonna just put this out anyway. And definitely my release party got canceled, but I think in the end it ended up serving me not better, but I think that there was a lot of things that I got to learn um, that I wouldn't have gotten to learn had everything sort of continued on normally. For example, like a lot of different conferences and things sort of went online. So, you know,
Virtual,
being
right?
exactly, yeah. Like I got to attend like the Folk Alliance, which is like, you know, it's the cost can be quite a barrier, I think, for a lot of these things. So the fact that they moved online was like an incredible thing, I think, for a lot of people. So like yeah, like Breakout West, which is like the Western Canadian Music Conference, also was online. So yeah, I think I got to meet a lot of really awesome people that way and learn a lot of different skills that I wouldn't have gotten to. So it was kind of a very alternative route to what I was sort of planning. I was hoping to tour and then never got to tour, so I kind of did my first real tour like this year, which is wild as it's like several years past,
Right.
but yeah.
Yeah, I find that with music sometimes is that you put the music out there, but the reason artists do singles is because they want people to know that there's an album coming.
Yeah.
So you put out your single, and then people start to hear your music, and then you put out a second single, and then all of a sudden now you can kind of feel how it's being received. You put the album out there, and then people are going, okay, now we got the whole album. Now this is what we've been waiting for, kind of thing. So it has changed a bit. Um, yeah, everything went virtual, even the award shows, which I think is where I first heard you was at the I think the Summer Solstice Music Awards,
Right. Yeah.
um, which I thought, hey, Summer Solstice Music Awards. Watching this is because it was virtual and it was done, everybody could come out and see it. And it was um, I got exposed to some musicians that I wouldn't have otherwise heard. So I think the virtual part of it actually maybe have was a benefit to a certain point. I mean, as much as the reason we had to go virtual was not great, but
Yeah. Yeah. Of course.
it did. So now inevitably artists get associated with other artists, usually as a kind of a point of reference.
Mm.
So when you hear critics or reviewers describing you and your music, who are they aligning you with, and do you agree with most of them?
I've gotten a lot of different people. Like I think yeah, I think that like what I'm doing, I feel like people have a hard time pinning down exactly what it is or who it sounds like. So I've had, you know what? I had an Adele comparison one time, and that was like a huge compliment. Obviously, Adele is like one of the greatest vocalists out there right now, so that was like a that felt really good. But yeah, I've had things like Maggie Rogers. I've gotten a few times. Florence and the Machine. I got recently. Someone who came to one of my shows kind of was like, "Oh yeah, you could open for Florence and the Machine," and I was like, "Oh wow, okay, that's also someone I haven't heard yet." I've gotten like Serena Ryder, I've gotten like Brandy Carlisle. So I think that is reflective of my influences too. I think like there's a lot of people that I'm like pulling from in my past. So
Right.
it's always cool. I don't necessarily hear it myself sometimes. Like I had someone review me and they were like, "Oh, this like country pop sound." And I was like, "Country pop?" I
I,
was like, "Really?" I was like, "That's not what I was going for," but it is cool that
yeah,
you can hear these different tones in what I'm doing. I think that's
that is
still
interesting because I don't hear country,
yeah.
um, definitely I get the folk vibe. So
Yeah, totally.
I completely understand that, and some of the artists that you mentioned is not ones that would come to my mind first either.
Interesting.
Um, and so I was thinking, more like say a Buffy St. Marie
Mm.
or Ray Zaragoza. I don't know if you know who Ray Zaragoza is, but another young folk singer, and she's an activist, but the sound, the texture of your voices are very similar, and I think that that's
Interesting.
really nice.
Yeah.
So as I listen to your EP, I listen to the album, and I at first I was just listening to the music for the sound because you really have a nice, inviting sound that's easy to listen to. And then I think it took me a few listens to start actually listening to the to lyrics.
Mm.
'Cause for me, there's always music playing somewhere, whether it's while I'm walking to work, whether it's at wherever. There's always music playing somewhere, and so after a while, you can kind of, I guess, get desensitized
Mm.
to the content. And so when I listen to I hear a lot of the focus on relationships
Mm.
and on both the EP and the album. And then so then I watched that film Smile. It's only the
Oh,
end of the
did
world,
you? Yeah.
and which also kind of focuses on how our society has become so disconnected from each other. Really, and I think it was a bit of a dark um, storyline in that sense. We don't like self-reflection oftentimes, right? Society in general doesn't like to look at ourselves as to what are our faults and what
Hmm.
are the things that we don't want to admit in being incorporated in technology in the last decade or so. everything's going that way. It's the film and your music all kind of uh, review our relationships in life. Is that kind of where your focus in writing is going to stay, you think? Or
Yeah, I think like for me, I think that the relationships that I have in my life are so meaningful to me. Like that's something that I treasure deeply. So I think for me, I find a lot of inspiration in those sorts of yeah, in my relationships, and that can be like friends or family or like romantic or otherwise. So that's a very much a driving force for me, and it's something that I write about easily. So right now that Turpentine's kind of it's had its album cycle, and I'm sort of looking at new chapters, I've been thinking a lot about actually I've been thinking a lot about turning points and this idea of turning points as something to explore. So that's kind of what I've been dabbling with a little bit, but trying to push myself to expand on what I've been writing about. So definitely with the musical that I got to co-write, I guess last year now that premiered, called Two-Headed Half-Hearted. That was very much about like family, identity, sisterhood. So yeah, it's just kind of like bringing in these new ideas for me to explore. Outside of that is something that I'm interested in right now in my life, but
right,
we'll see.
and you're staying connected to the theater, right? Because you just
Yeah.
did this piece in a series for the Little World of Stories.
Yeah.
And yeah, so the music doing a musical adaptation of Little Rainbow,
Yeah.
which was from the Cree writer Eleanor Bras, as you mentioned in the video. Um, do you have plans to do more stuff that's kind of indigenous inspired or focused?
Yeah, I'm definitely like that's something I'm definitely open to in my own songwriting. I think that might come definitely from more of like a collaborative sense. So totally looking to co-write with a lot of people. Yeah, I'm very much in like a open to the universe
Right,
era of my life. But in terms of theater, I've definitely done a lot of indigenous works. That's something that I'm very passionate about. I'm actually working with Braided Journeys right now, which is a cooperation that works with Edmonton Catholic school system in different high schools, and we're sort of piloting this theater program in this context. So using theater as like a means of exploration and um, discovering identity, expressing identity, while also building resilience with a few other Indigenous creatives. So that's been really cool. That's been something that's been driving me lately as well. So yeah, definitely Indigenous stories are something I'm passionate about, and definitely have more explored them in the theatrical sense than in my own music, but
right.
open to open to that too.
But you have collaborated with Julian Taylor, right? Who's also
Mhm.
Indigenous, has an Indigenous background. So how did that come about, and how did you feel about how that turned out?
That was very cool for me. That was one of those things where sometimes I'm just like, like if I just send an email to someone, what's the worst that could happen? So,
They can say
I
no.
yeah, right. I'm like, he could say no, but my life ultimately doesn't change, right? I was like, if he
Yeah.
says no, then
What have you lost?
yeah, exactly. So I believe in that very strongly. And I'd first seen him actually speak. I think it was at Folk Alliance when it was online. I think he did an Indigenous panel. So I'd watched him. Yeah, I'd seen him speak, and I was like, he's incredible. I would love to pick his brain more on just his view on the world. I think he's
Yeah,
just
and
awesome.
I also I know that he's collaborated with Kinney Starr as well.
Yeah, yeah,
And so I love Kinney Starr. She's great. So it's he's obviously open to exploring that avenue too. Which is the next thing is because you've been nominated now for three Canadian Folk Music Awards, which is going to be the Indigenous Songwriter of the Year, New Emerging Artist of the Year, and Contemporary Singer of the Year. So, congrats on that.
thank you.
Um, and so you're going to find out what was that, April or March?
April, yeah, I
Um,
think it's April 4th to 7th is the awards, I think, this year.
so this is not the first award show, obviously, that you've attended, but when you go to these awards, there must be a certain amount of networking that goes on. So is that going to trigger more collaborations in the future?
I hope so. I've got like big plans in my brain for what's coming next. I would love to collaborate more. I think that um Yeah, I think that the music industry, it's really, really difficult compared to theater because, theater, you're tending to work with a whole team of people bringing something to life. And music, it's like, you're working with your like producers and maybe other songwriters. But I think that like for shows, for example, like there's less room for that and there's more like competition almost, which I hate to say, but I think that it's not always very like community minded. So I'm hoping to continue to collaborate more with this next project.
Right. So when people look up Kaeley Jade, most of the descriptions are going to be award winning, first of all, then Metis,
Hmm.
um, singer songwriter, and multidisciplinary. Is you think that that's the proper order in the way that you identify?
I I don't know. I think like on the internet, it's like a lot of it's about putting your best foot forward and grabbing a viewer, So I think like I've actually been thinking about identity a lot in the last week or so. And I think that everybody's identity is so diverse, and as soon as we label something, it almost becomes like not necessarily binary, but like I think that there's a lot of
Expectations.
expectations that come along with putting a label on yourself, whatever that might be. So I've been thinking a lot about that because I think I identify so strongly as an artist. I think that's always the way that I will put myself into the universe is like, hi, I'm Kaeley, I'm an artist. Here's these other really awesome things about me and how I identify. So I've been trying to reframe that a little bit and think about, like what are the things that I value as a person as well. So it'd be like, like, hey, like I would love to be kind. I want to be a kinder person. I want to be a more generous person. So I've been really thinking about that and thinking how myself and also like collectively we can bring those into, and I think it's like a colonial thing too, with
How
like this
how
is
do you
my
show
job.
that
This is
though?
pardon?
How do you show those types of things? I mean, kindness and compassion and respect and empathy. Those are all beautiful traits to have, and we I think that we should all strive for those.
Yeah.
But how do we show that on, say, a first impression? So when
That is hard. Yeah. I think that that's a very hard thing to do. And even meeting people, I think like the colonial way of meeting is definitely like, hi, like, what do you do? Oh, like this is my job. What is your job? Oh, good, we have jobs. So I think I'm a huge believer in being authentic with people. Um, I really try to bring like myself as myself to every meeting that I have. So I think things like being a good listener, in a conversation, like those sort of things when you're meeting people, it's not necessarily like you can be like, "Hi, I'm Kaylee and I'm kind." Like K is for kindness and like but I think it's more like how we show up for other people that we can
right.
show those things. But it's such a it's that's a mega brain discussion I think that needs to happen.
But why can't we do that? I
Mm,
mean, traditionally, what we do, um, from an indigenous perspective, is we always tell people, "This is my name, this is my nation, this is my clan,
hmm.
and this is the community I belong to." Um,
Absolutely.
and I mean, my partner says to me, your introduction's so long sometimes, and then and then so if you get all of a sudden you get another group of people who come into your community, you stop and you repeat it again for the
Mm,
new people who come in. Well, the new people may not know who I am, so I have to tell them. And and we think about this like, when I spoke with Plex, we talked about the fact that that's what we think is proper. I mean, you know, is letting people know exactly where our roots are. So they know that right from the first meeting, okay, this is someone from, you know, the one, the area with the one spoon with one, the bowl with one spoon treaty territory. They know where I'm from. They know the area anyway. And then they know the nations that are around here. Now, if I said I was, Haida from there, now they're going to question, hold on, Haida don't belong in that area. So who is this guy really?
mhm.
It. being upfront with who you are sets your identity for future interactions with those people, I think.
Hmm.
Um, so if we tell people, this is it, why can't we say, hey, I'm Kaeley Jade, and I'm a very friendly indigenous man, you
Mm,
know, who's trying to unite people.
that's beautiful.
Why can't that be part of our identity? Um, so so Kaylee is kind, you
I hope
know,
so. I try. We try.
so why not? Why does it have to be Kaylee? Is first of all, she's Métis before all else, or she's an
Mm,
award winner before all else, or she's a female before all else. We can be
right.
everything. Why can't we have multiple identities? And we do. It's just
Yeah,
th- th-
it's true.
so that was kind of people are saying hi to me, saying hi to you.
Hi.
So anyone who just popped in, hi, not the brain. We're speaking with Kaeley Jade. So she's a singer, songwriter. She, her pronouns. And so some of my community have already heard your music, so that they kind of the regulars anyway have heard you, and I'm getting a lot of positive feedback from here too. And I think from because I play so many genres of music on my stream from different artists, we have a hip hop and metal and country, and because when I first I did a radio show. I used to guest host a radio show for a couple of elders. That's when I really got exposed to indigenous music, and when I started to make playlists for friends and coworkers, and I would talk about, here's some indigenous hip hop, and it was like, indigenous people do hip hop.
Mm,
Yeah, I think that we've got this very narrow kind of perception of indigenous music. What makes indigenous music, or what makes music indigenous? You know,
totally.
either way that you look at it, and so is the artist indigenous?
Yeah, I think like in my mind, like I think there's a lot of people that are working really hard to dismantle this, like this idea of like what indigenous music is, and really like diversify people's brains on what it can be. Because I think at the end of the day, music is indigenous because the artists who create it are indigenous. So obviously you can have more like traditional elements brought in. But yeah, like that's my belief. Like I get asked that a lot too. It's just like, oh, like are you making indigenous music? And it's like, well, like yeah, because I am, so therefore I
Right,
am.
right.
It's kind of a yeah, it's kind of a very interesting thing.
That
And
sounds like Billie Eilish. I am for I am, therefore I am.
yeah.
Is this Yeah, and that's the whole thing. Is I think that part of it is the platform we use. So I'm
Mhm.
getting the alert here. We're running out of time.
Oh yeah, the 10-minute Zoom
Yeah.
alert.
So anyone in chat, if you have any questions, better speak up now. Forever hold. So here, what is the plans for the future for Kaylee? What are your next projects? I know that obviously you have the awards coming up in April, but you also have a show coming up on the 18th, right, for Métis Week.
Yep. Yeah, any Mokinstas Calgary friends, come show up. I'll be playing at Studio Bell, at the National Music Center at 1 p.m. on November 18th with my full band. So that's kind of in honor of Métis Week, but also for the CIBC Community Showcase series. So that's kind of the next show. So I have like some shows kind of coming up for, like Christmas time. Everyone wants some holiday music, so I'll be doing some of that. In the new year, I'm kind of looking at recording some demos. It's kind of I'm in this like very interesting spot in my life where I've finished this thing, I've finished this album cycle, it's been toured, so I'm kind of setting up for figuring out what's next. Still kind of like in that space where I'm like I don't exactly know 100% what I want to do, if it's going to be like more singles or like a EP or like a full album. So that's what I've been doing this fall. It's been a lot of like figuring things out and doing some writing.
Exploring.
Yeah, exactly. I think like what I want to do is I want to make sure that I'm being deliberate with the things that I do. I think that, I don't want to put something out just for the sake of releasing new music. I want to make sure that it's something that I'm very proud of,
Right.
and that I believe in strongly. So yeah, just exploring right now.
So here's the other thing, though, when you and the music industry is not, I don't believe is an easy industry to stay on top of.
Mm,
Is that if there's a long time between releases, it's easy to kind of get pushed to the back shelf and you know lose that momentum. So you got a really successful four song EP out. You got your album that was just released in September, last September.
mhm.
You're on that kind of that momentum now, and
Yeah,
and because of the pandemic, I do think that kind of threw a little bit of a wrench into a lot of spokes, I guess, for how people get the stuff out there. But at the same time, I think virtually we're benefiting to a certain point because it is making the world smaller, right? So
yeah.
maybe you are reaching audiences that you might not otherwise reach just by virtue of being virtual, I
Oh,
guess.
totally. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's one of the things that keeps me up at night. It's like this feels like there's this force breathing down your neck all the time of like, oh, like what's next? And even when I just put out my album, people were like, "Oh, like cool, congratulations. What are you working on now?" And it's like, I just released it. Like I'm an independent artist and
Yeah.
it's like there's a lot to do with that. So it's like, man, can I rest? Like I would love to rest with a capital rest. Just
That yeah, that's the other thing about being an independent artist is that you don't have a team of people behind you all saying, okay, here's where your next gig is. Here's, we put your billboard up over here, and we've done this up for your radio show. There's not those people there all the time. You have to
yeah.
kind of, you're like a one woman show, right?
Yeah,
That's
self-motivated for sure.
from the writing to the recording to the producing and then ultimately the getting it out there and then promoting it and following up on it. So I think that you're doing a great job. And I love the music. So in my audience loves it too. So I appreciate you having taken some time to come and talk with us. And thank you so much. I will keep in touch because I want to see as the projects go on, and I want to see you win this award and in
Oh.
April. And that's it's going to be exciting. It's always exciting. I think the awards are kind of like they're not necessary,
Mm-hmm.
and even being nominated is an honor, but
Hmm.
winning it is like a validation
Yeah.
of all your hard work is paying off. And so good luck with that. And I do hope to keeping my fingers crossed for you.
That's really nice.
And thank you so much again for taking some time because I know that we're gonna time out here in a minute or so. And so we will maybe next time we'll do another one at sometime down the road after the awards are done, and we'll get some updates and see where your new album is at that point.
Sounds good. Yeah, it sounds great.
Okay, Yonko, and thanks again so much, Kaylee.
Thank you. Take care, everybody. Appreciate you having me on today.
Okay, so she is so cool. That was fun, and like she said, sometimes you just gotta ask. Let people decide if you're sending an email or this is kind of how I saw it with when I sent out a request to Crystal Shawanda back when I first started streaming. Crystal Shawanda is a Juno Award-winning artist, and I sent her a message and said, "Hey, I got this stream. Would you come on and chat?" And she said yes. So I was a bit surprised, but so honored and excited about it at the same time. And and I thought, why not ask Kaylee if she would do it, and she did, and I'm so grateful that she took some time out to be with us. And maybe next time, what I'll try to do is see if we can get her to maybe perform a new song or something. So that would also be pretty cool. Speaking of which, um, while I was doing this, we mentioned that she did this film um, called um, Smile. It's only the end of the world. Um, and I think let me actually move my camera over. I'm going to exit this one. Uh, and, and that, let's see. So now, there we go. Now I'm over here. So, what I think it would be there's two things I want to show you. The first thing I'm going to show you is a song that we were talking about in the meeting. The song is one that they had a series um, where they're called Stories from Around the World. And essentially what was happening is the series was asking people to tell a story from their part of the world. And what Kaylee ended up doing is she chose this story from a Cree author. And I believe it's a children's story, but it's from a collection of stories. I'm gonna show you her performance of that. If Give me one moment, let me find it because okay. So I'm going to get my mug up the screen so you can see this. This is Kaeley Jade, uh, and you'll see what she's doing here. So let me just get this off.
Hi everyone, my name is Kaeley Jade and I am a Métis and mixed European multidisciplinary artist based out of Amiskwaciwâskahikan or Edmonton, Alberta. So the story that I'm going to share with you today is one that's very special to me because it's one that I used to read when I was younger. So it comes from a book called Medicine Boy and Other Cree Tales by Eleanor Brass, and it's a collection of Cree tales and stories from the Papikasis Cree Nation in Saskatchewan. So if you want to learn a little bit more about this book or about Eleanor Brass, we've linked some resources for you down below, so feel free to take a look. So the story that I've chosen to share today is one of my favorites. And instead of just reading it to you, I wanted to do something a little bit different and special, so I decided to adapt it into a song. So this tale is called Little Rainbow. A long, long time ago, before both you and I, a tiny little girl was born beneath the stormy sky, and the rain that had been pouring down trickled and ran dry, and a million colors shimmered, so they called her Little Rainbow. Little Rainbow grew up with her face turned to the sky. She was a dreamer, a believer, waiting for her chance to fly. She was always asking questions, she was always wondering why. Then one day grandfather sat her down, said, "Listen, little rainbow. Way back when the earth was new, there was a raging flood, and afterwards Creator hung a rainbow up above to assure the folks the flood was gone, a peaceful sign of love. His story done, grandfather shared a smile with little rainbow. Together they walked up the hill with wishes in their hearts. Suddenly a clap of thunder rang, and lightning sparked, and the sound of mighty wings drew ever closer from the stars, and a noble thunderbird soared away with little rainbow. Thunderbird gently placed her on the rainbow's beams, and she saw that countless flowers had adorned its vibrant streaks. The million blossoms were the greatest beauty she had seen. If only I could share this with the world, thought little rainbow. So she picked a bunch of bluebells, asters, dogwood, fireweed. She picked a bunch of buttercups, wild rose, anemones, and she cast them off the side. Away they drifted gracefully, a twirling and a swirling, floating down from little rainbow. Flowers from the sky took root in soil, rock, and peat. They spread far across the land and bloomed for all to see. Now their beauty will forever be enjoyed by you and me. For her kindness we'll forever give our thanks to little rainbow. Thank you so much.
Well, the music was loud at the end of that. Okay. So we talked about this during the interview, was that there's this film that she did called Smile, It's Only the End of the World, which kind of throws a little bit of a perspective on how we as a society uh, seem to be disconnected from each other in our relationships. And so that's one of the things that, you know, we often don't like we don't like to look at um, because who wants to admit that there's flaws in our in our world, so to speak. So it's only 26 minutes long. So I will let me just go here, get this. So I'll show you this. Give me 1 second. Oh, she's just thanking me for today. I just wanted to say yes. Okay. So let me get this started. This is the film. It was just released. It was filmed in 20. Well, you'll see. It says right at the beginning when it was filmed. So let's get this started.
What is the last image you see before you die? Is it the present, the past, a glimpse into the future? Though, in this time of existential uncertainty, I only had one thing on my mind. Benjamin fucking Cole. The first time I laid eyes on Benjamin Cole, he told me, "I hold the key to the end of time." I told him to lay off the chalk, which is the same thing I say to most of these freaks. But Benjamin was different. He just sat there with this obnoxious, idiotic facial expression that happy people like to call a smile. I can't remember the last time I've done that. Maybe never. Regardless, he wasn't happy. I could see right through that shit-eating grin. He was mocking me. He thought he was better than me. But why? We're all cut from the same cloth in this Folgers-scented wasteland that bureaucrats call group therapy and label us with words like burdens, losers, bums, junkies, addicts. I never really liked the word addict. Probably because I've been called one far too many times. I am. I don't want to give you the wrong impression. But it's funny. When you think of the word addict, it's always associated with drugs, sex, gambling, everything illicit, everything impure. What about the politicians that are addicted to power and money? The fat guy next door addicted to a bucket of the Colonel's finest, or the millions of mindless robots that check their socials every 5 seconds in hopes that they have a new like, message, or follower. We're a society of addicts, but nobody sees it this way. We're too busy labeling other people to look at our own addictions. What's his? Why is he really here? I can't let the new guy get the best of me. I decided to leave. But he didn't. He stayed in my mind like a bad dream. Maybe it was. When you're alone in the desert, the rocks have a certain way of looking at you. The same way they looked at our ancestors and whatever creatures inhabited this place before them. But something else is here. I can feel its overwhelming presence. I call out for help, and my voice echoes for miles. Nobody answers, but I know it's still there, watching me. I start to panic. Suddenly, I'm paralyzed on the floor of the earth, gasping for air as the black smoke fills my lungs. I can feel my temperature rising, my skin starting to sizzle against the desert rock, but it's not from the sun. It's coming from within. It's here. My life's become such a monotony that even my nightmares are the same. It never used to be this way. I guess you could say when I was rolling, I gathered no moss. Now, the only thing I'm gathering is enough confidence to finally make the plunge. I don't hate myself, if that's what you're thinking. I hate what I've become. I take pills every day for anxiety, depression, something for this, something for that. I used to pop Pez for fun. And now I'm popping cement because they claim I have something called substance abuse psychosis. Don't worry, I don't know what the fuck it means either. A word created by a table of boomers who still refer to us as crazy. Yeah, the same people that claim the smoke's not doing any harm, that our generation doesn't work hard. It's all grade A bullshit. What they keep forgetting is that they were young ones. They were the first generation to grow up thinking the world would improve with time. Here's the thing. They spent their lives searching for the dream. We never had to search for it because we were born already knowing it didn't exist.
Tonight's curfew will begin at 1900 hours.
In their eyes, we're a generation of fuck-ups. But hey, that's what makes us, us. I work. Not hard. But I show up. Clock in, clock out, done, home. I once read on a greeting card that home is where the heart is. My immediate thought was, whoever came up with that is a fucking dolt. I have a TV, couch, cell phone, a half-eaten turkey sandwich. Pretty cool, right? This is what a get back on your feet project looks like. 4 walls and a roof for being 1 year sober. I don't have friends to celebrate with, family to congratulate me. Instead, I have a text message on a screen that reads,
"Congratulations, Zara. I'm very proud of you. Dr. James McQueen." Smiley face.
when did communication between humans become so dehumanized? When did calling someone become such an inconvenience? Is human interaction that dull and lifeless that we have to talk over an electronic screen and use a fucking computerized smiley face to show our emotions? We all chase the like as if it's a form of currency. Hashtag like for like, MCM, TBT. That's not me. That's not my perfect life. But you believed it was. See? I can play pretend too. When I was younger, I loved to dance. I was pretty good at it too. I like to think I was a happy kid. Though I think most kids are happy until they become aware of the world around them. I don't have many memories of my parents together. I don't remember my mom. I don't know who my dad really was. He worked for the government, national defense. Eventually lost his job, blamed everything on everyone else. That's why she left. He spent his time in the garage working on his projects, and I spent mine alone, wondering if it was something I did. This was before he was labeled a threat to national security. This was before he was tried and convicted. This was before he killed himself in jail. A quick Google search will tell you all of that, but what the sum of the world's knowledge won't tell you is the most important thing. Why? After that, I was thrown into the system. You know, the one that was supposed to look out for my well-being. You can only take so much abuse before you finally stand up for yourself. He didn't die, or get jail time, or even get convicted, all of which he deserved. Instead, I got blamed for being deranged. Go figure. Sometimes I think about my dad, my mom. What would have happened if they were still together? Or if he didn't abandon me and neglect me? Where would I be right now? Maybe I would be dancing The Rite of Spring at the Royal Opera House in London, England? Probably not. Fuck him. He didn't want me to be a part of his life. Why should he be a part of mine? I blame Benjamin fucking Cole. I haven't said more than 4 words to the guy, and he's messed me up real good. I hold the key to the end of time. The thing about time is that it doesn't just end. The clock keeps ticking long after yours has stopped.
sure you are following protocol. Disobeying protocol.
They stood and watched from a distance. No batons or tear gas.
Tonight's curfew
They already
will
knew
begin
who
in
everyone
30
was.
hours. Please
By
return
tomorrow,
prior to the curfew.
they'd all be gone.
Disobeying the posted curfew is a punishable offense. Your safety is our concern.
Can you hold the door, please, Zara?
Hodor. Shit. I wasted a Game of Thrones reference on him. Oh shit, it's him. What the fuck do you want?
We're both late.
No shit, buddy.
Do you want to grab a tea?
Yes. No. Shit. Fuck. What the hell are you thinking? Tea? Really? I agreed to go with him because I wanted to know what he meant. Every time I would muster up enough confidence to ask him, I was pulled back. Maybe I didn't want to hear the truth. Maybe I just wanted this conversation to continue. I sat there trying to peg where he fit in the mold of society. I don't think he did. He was different. Soft-spoken, intelligent. Truth be told, I liked listening to him. He wasn't like the guys I was used to being around. He was passionate about philosophy. His big idea theory, he called it. He explained how society is supposed to move forward and evolve through these big ideas. But politics, wars, famines, disease, economic downfall, the smoke, all that shit. They don't happen because of the big ideas that are supposed to propel mankind forward. They happen because people fear change. I learned a lot from Benjamin Cole that night, but I still didn't get my answer. I guess another time.
Tonight's curfew will begin in 30 minutes.
I have to work tomorrow, dude. It's been a time.
Do you like dinosaurs?
How old are you? I called in sick for the first time in, well, my first time ever. Why did he take me here? Fucking dinosaur museum. This is where I'll ask him. He was strangely quiet today. Something was on his mind, but I couldn't quite figure out what.
65 million years ago, they ruled the Earth. 65 million years from now, where will we be?
What did you mean the other day?
Can I show you something?
We stood out there for quite some time, enjoying each other's company, before he finally spoke.
We live our lives in constant fear. Always being watched, never fully knowing until it's too late. Friends, turning on friends, family, turning on family. This is all part of their design. Meanwhile, the police are brutalizing their citizens. Advertisers, they're listening to our conversations, telling us what products we should be buying. The government is dividing its population. Women are being raped. Children shot in school. Proven science being ignored. If the clock is reset and we start back at 0, will it be better next time? Or will humanity fall to the same fate? Ammonites are healing fossils. Their spiral shape is supposed to represent change.
Why are you giving this to me?
It reminded me of you. I never came up with the big idea theory.
Is this what he was worried about?
It was Dr. Robert Marker.
And there it was. The 2 words I feared most. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't shocked. I think somehow I knew it, and have been avoiding it all along.
Your father didn't kill himself. He was set up and killed by them. I've been studying his work for years. He was fired because he questioned their ethics, and he was killed because he developed something to change the fate of mankind. Now, I believe that you hold the key. That's why I've been trying to find you for all these years.
So you've been stalking me?
No.
All right, using me.
Zara, look, it's not...
How the fuck did you even find me? I changed my last name for a reason.
Zara, you're my friend.
No, I'm not. Just stop. I don't believe you. Robert Marker was a terrorist. That's what he was.
He wasn't. He was fed up with the way things were. He was trying to make a change.
By what? Blowing up banks and factories? Killing innocent people? They found the bombs, man. He put innocent lives in danger, including my own. He didn't develop shit.
You really believe that?
Yes, I do.
Then why do the feds keep coming back?
Look, I've had to deal with this shit my entire life. Crackpot weirdos like you that think that every little fucking thing is a conspiracy. No! Stay the fuck away from me. I never want to see you again. That was the last time I saw Benjamin Cole. I stopped going to group therapy. I quit my job. I even stopped having dreams. Suicidal thoughts entered my brain by the second. How would I do it? How could I leave my mark? My big fuck you to the world? Or would I be just another statistic? In every recovering addict's life, there comes a moment when they are faced with some degree of adversity. Most find their solace in group therapy, friends, family. Others step back into the darkness. They call it relapse. I like to think of it as my rebirth.
We were gonna wait until after the recital, but your mother and I wanted to give it to you now. I wish I could go back in time and give you a better life, but I can't. I can only give you this.
Go, go, go! Move, move! Hands up!
Do you remember your first recital? Do you remember what I told you?
Yes.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law.
Zara,
You have the
you
right
danced
to return.
beautifully. If you get nervous, just look out there in the front row. We'll be right there.
I'm scared.
The only place fear exists is in your mind. Free your mind of fear, and you'll free yourself forever. And Zara, don't forget to smile.
What is the last image you see before you die? Benjamin fucking Cole.
Siguli swagwag. Gala hindi niya get swagi slibagi ni waki daloda ani da gungwe wanage ani posho tante hokinapi. So what a great stream. I had for those of you who arrived late, we had Kaeley Jade came on and had a chat with us for about half an hour, 35 minutes or so, and talked about her music and her future plans. Again, she is nominated for three Canadian Folk Music Awards. Um, if you are so inclined, there's the links to her socials. Certainly feel free to follow her, listen to her music, stream her music from whatever your favorite platform is. Apple Music, YouTube, um, SoundCloud. I think she's on, um, and you can also link to her Facebook for that matter, and keep in touch and get updates from what's happening with her. She's got a show on the November the 18th in Edmonton. Anyone who happens to be in Canada, if you're in the area, certainly I'm sure she'd be loved to have people show up for that for as a honor of Métis Week. So again, for those of you not in Turtle Island, Métis is essentially a word. It's a French word, and it means mixed, and it refers to the indigenous communities here on Turtle Island, where the members are have indigenous ancestry as well as a European ancestry. So so it's kind of hence the word mixed. But and it was great the way that she described it in the chat. So I'm going to post this VOD up as soon as our stream is done. So anyone who missed any of the interview or the film or the song that she did, then you'll be able to see that within a few minutes after we raid out. So what I'll do is I'm going to try to find someone who's online that we can raid. So in the meantime, what I'll do is I'm going to play the last song that Kaeley Jade had posted, and this song is off of her new album. Kaeley has a four-song EP that she released in 2000, right at the beginning of the pandemic, and she also has an album that was called it's called Turpentine that was just released, and she released that in September. So she's been really touring, actually doing a tour to promote the album, and so she is so talented. I love the texture of her voice. She's got this very soft. Um, I don't want to call it girlish, but a very young sounding voice. Of course, she is young, but um, I think you know what I mean. So let me find her song here. And the video that she did for this song as well, I think, is really well done. Um, and so, as I mentioned in the interview, and I guess she also kind of feels she does do this, is a lot of her music is really focused on relationships. And so I normally I would play the Peaceful Warrior at the end, but I think just because of the stream today and having her here, and I'm gonna play her latest video release. And then I'll look for someone to raid. So if you would stick around, it would be appreciated just so that we can go over and share the love with somebody else. So let me get my mug off the screen again here and share with you. This song is called Beneath the Lies, and this is Kaeley Jade.
I
daughter. You were always your father's son. I thought the lights shone brighter just for us, but I was wrong. I can't give you what you want. I am my sister's keeper. You were never your brother's friend. I thought that we could make it back to where it all began, but that is not how this will end. You don't know where to begin, and I don't know how this should end. Why do you avoid my eyes? Are you afraid of what you'll find beneath the light? Whoa, 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 beneath the light. Whoa, whoa, whoa. I can't tell just what you're thinking. Can't read the mask that you've put on. I thought that we could fix the broken mess that we've become, but I don't